years, the glamour and excitement of Formula One Grand Prix racing has inspired millions of spectators around the world. Great talent comes to the fore quickly in the battle for the World Driving Championship, a crucible that produces athletic feats of breathtaking speed, exquisite timing, and occasionally frightening violence. Two-time world champion Emerson Fittipaldi was a 23-year-old rookie in 1970 when he won in only his 4th Grand Prix start for the Lotus team. A year later, Mario Andretti took his first win in his 10th race. 7 seasons later, he became America's 2nd world champion. 3-time titleist Ayrton Senna is regarded as one of the best ever. In 1985, he won in his 16th Grand Prix on a rainy Sunday in Portugal. In 1981, Alain Prost was victorious in his 19th start. Today, he has 50 more victories and 3 world titles. For Damon Hill, the summer of '93 has been haunted by memories of sure victories lost to mechanical failures. 2 weeks ago, Hill chased those demons in his 13th Grand Prix start, beating both Prost and Senna and his late father Graham, who took 33 races to produce his first victory. Will the sport's first second-generation winner become its first second-generation champion? Today, the series comes to Belgium and a circuit that last year produced a first-time winner in Michael Schumacher. In 1991, Schumacher made his Grand Prix debut at Spa-Francorchamps, but a broken clutch at the start ended his race before it began. Last year, Schumacher returned for his 18th race and won. A brilliant drive by the always exuberant German, lifting him to the top of the podium over newly crowned world champion Nigel Mansell. Today, Michael Schumacher seeks his 2nd straight victory at Spa-Francorchamps. Damon Hill hopes to make it 2 wins in as many races. And Alain Prost takes another step toward a possible 4th world championship at the Grand Prix of Belgium. ESPN, the world leader in motorsports coverage, presents Speed World. In a calendar-pretty valley deep in the Ardennes forest lies one of the world's most awesome racing circuits, Spa-Francorchamps, site of round 12 on the Formula One World Driving Championship, the Grand Prix of Belgium. With 11 races down and 5 to go, Grand Prix racing returns to its roots, to a mixture of public and private roads near the village of Francorchamps, but known to racing fans around the world simply as Spa. Hello again, everyone. I'm Bob Barsha. Welcome to a perfect day for racing here in the Ardennes forest, and that doesn't happen very often, I can tell you. Ask your favorite Formula One driver for the name of his favorite racing circuit, and the answer is likely to be Spa. And it's easy to see why. At 4.3 miles, it's the longest circuit we see all year, with plenty of high-speed corners. And its most distinctive corner is the one you see behind me. Eau Rouge, down a hill to a quick left-right flick, and then sharply uphill, taken in top gear with all the throttle that a driver has the courage to muster. And it didn't take long this weekend for Eau Rouge to remind this Formula One field just how careful you have to be here. In the opening laps of Friday practice, young Italian Alessandro Zanardi plunged through Eau Rouge in his Lotus, flew off the racetrack and clouded the wall, a terrifying blow. Telemetry on the Lotus indicated a 120-mile-per-hour impact, tearing all 4 wheels off the car. Then, seconds later, McLaren teammates Michael Andretti and Ayrton Senna arrived.
I had nowhere to go, and I couldn't stop completely to standstill position. So I had to choose one way to avoid another accident, because there was already Zanardi car there, some people on the circuit, Michael's car, there was nowhere to go. And without the debris and the sand, I couldn't come to standstill position with my car. So I had to choose a way for the minimum consequences, which is what I did.
Well, despite Senna's calm demeanor, that was a close moment for Team McLaren. And miraculously, Alessandro Zanardi came away from that savage crash with nothing more than a case of whiplash and some major bruising. Needless to say, he will not be with us today. Someone else who is not with us today is my regular colleague, Derek Daly, who will be seen later today here on ESPN with the Indy cars out in Vancouver. Joining us as a special guest, the most successful American in Formula One in recent years, Eddie Cheever. We all remember Eddie driving in the World Championship for Arrows, the Team Renault, and others. Most recently, this was Eddie Cheever on the starting grid at Road America to race Indy cars. He'll be back in the cockpit on the oval at Nazareth a little bit later this year, also here on ESPN. Eddie, it's been 3 years since you drove these cars. You've been busy in the pit lane all weekend. What are your impressions of modern Formula One?
The technical evolution has been incredible. When I left, there was very little use of computers on the cars. All we had really was telemetry. Now, when I speak to Prost and my other ex-colleagues, they tell me that going through corners like that, they do nothing but push buttons, make the suspension rise, make the engine do more things, and it really is unbelievable. I think technology has gone a little bit too far here because the driver's not really taken out of the picture, but a lot of the things you have to do beforehand are finished. It's always good to be here at Spa. Like you said before, is a racing driver's dream. It can be a dream in a good car, and it can be a nightmare in a bad one. I've had both.
Well, we've already had some surprises in qualifying. With more on that, let's get down to the starting grid and our pit reporter, James Allen.
Just a few seconds to go before they clear the grid, Bob, and the big story this week has been Aguri Suzuki in the footwork Mugen Honda. He's qualified 6th on the grid. When was the last time we saw footwork that high up on the grid? The reason? Well, there's two reasons. Firstly, Michael Schumacher, who also lives in Monaco with Suzuki, he has been giving him a lot of encouragement and building up his morale. The second reason, they've bought the active suspension system from McLaren, and they're beginning to get it working. Derek Warwick completes the picture. He's 7th on the grid.
All right, thank you, James. Someone asked Aguri Suzuki how he planned to attack the start. Suzuki looked up, smiled, and said, "All I plan to do is stay out of trouble." We'll be right back. This ESPN Speed World presentation is brought to you by Volvo. Volvo would like you to drive safely. By Haviland Formula 3 Motor Oil. Add more life to your car. And by Walmart. Always the low price. Always. Live at Spa-Francorchamps, Belgium. As you can see, we have not yet cleared the starting grid, so we have a little extra time now to check out the lineup for round 12 of the World Championship. Here is our Yamaha starting grid. On the pole for the 11th time in 12 races this year, Alain Prost of France, number 3 in the morning warm-up. His lap at 145 miles an hour, 0.3 of a second under the all-time lap record set 2 years ago by Ayrton Senna on sticky qualifying tires. Next to him, his teammate Damon Hill of Great Britain in the Williams, coming off a big victory 2 weeks ago in Hungary. On row 2, Michael Schumacher of Germany in what is essentially his home race. His hometown of Kirpen, Germany is just 60 miles up the road. Next to him, Jean Alesi of France with a surprise qualifying performance in the Ferrari, but he was just 18th in the warm-up. On row 3, Ayrton Senna of Brazil, desperately trying to keep his title hopes alive. He has 5 victories here at Spa. He could use another one today. Next to him, you've already met Aguri Suzuki of Japan with a terrific performance in the footwork. Row 4 will be Derek Warwick of Great Britain, who celebrated his 39th birthday on Friday. He's also in a footwork. Next to him, Riccardo Patrese in the Benetton Ford. Row 5, J.J. Leto of Finland. In the Sauber, a good performance for him, and Johnny Herbert of Great Britain in the only remaining Lotus. On row 6, Martin Brundle of Great Britain in the Ligier, next to Karl Wendlinger of Austria in the Sauber. Row 7 will be Rubens Barrichello of Brazil in the Jordan, next to the McLaren of America's Michael Andretti. Row 8 will be Mark Blundell of Britain in the Ligier, next to the Ferrari of Gerhard Berger, driving with an open surgical wound in his elbow as he fights an infection. He's in a lot of pain. Row 9 will be Andrea de Cesaris of Italy in the Tyrrell Yamaha, next to the LaRousse 12-cylinder Lamborghini of Philippe Ayot. Row 10 will be Eric Comas of France in the second LaRousse, next to the Jordan of Terry Boutsen of Belgium. He will be the crowd darling. A Belgian has never won the Formula One race here at Spa. On row 11, Pierluigi Martini in the Minardi Ford, next to him Christian Fittipaldi, his teammate from Brazil. On row 12, Ukio Katayama of Japan in the Tyrrell, next to the Lola Ferrari of Italian Luca Badoer. And all alone on row 13, Michele Alboreto in the second Lola Ferrari. Alessandro Zanardi, as we mentioned, will not start the race. 8 Grand Prix winners will roll off as the cars prepare to heat up the engines and tires. Here's a look at our race analysis. The early morning fog has burned off. A brilliant day. It feels warmer than 67 degrees. A light breeze will keep everyone nice and cool. With no chance of rain, although it was originally predicted for late this afternoon. A look at former winners of this race. The best in Belgium, Ayrton Senna with 5 wins, as I mentioned. Jimmy Clark won 4 races here in Belgium, including 4 in a row, a feat that Ayrton Senna also accomplished. Eddie Cheever, you've driven here many times. You've scored points here and had podiums here. Tell us a little about the track at Spa.
Well, this is a really unique track. It's very long. It's the longest track that we raced on in Formula 1. It's one of those tracks where you have to get a good aerodynamic balance. If your car is not balanced, it's very difficult to get through all these corners that we're seeing our little icon go around. It's got a lot of elevation changes. Most of the corners are well above 100 miles in average, and it's one of those places where if you set your car up properly for the race, there's lots of opportunity to pass. We saw at Eau Rouge the other day what happens when you make a mistake, and it is easy to make a mistake here when you're driving these new cars on the limit. But I think it's going to be a really exciting race, and I'm sure that Professor Prost just might give everybody a lesson today if he can get off the grid. And I've been watching him this year, and I really am. I'm astounded that he's had so many problems.
Alain Prost has been practicing his start. Patrick Head, the technical director, says what Prost needs to do is treat the car the way Nigel Mansell used to. Peg those revs and just drop the clutch. But Prost, who is very delicate with his race cars, as Eddie mentioned, does not like to do that. There's a look at Damon Hill, still on cloud 9 after that victory in Hungary, becoming the first second-generation Formula 1 Grand Prix winner. Could he be the first second-generation champion? We do not know at this point. Damon Hill has still not been confirmed in a Williams drive for 1994. Now here comes the fast part of the racetrack as you ride on board with Ayrton Senna coming up to the corner known as Blanchimont, a real driver's corner, Eddie.
This is a driver's corner, but it's also an engine's corner. You're coming off a 4th gear corner onto a long stretch. It's really tricky here in running behind somebody because you can't really get a good look at the road, and you have to be careful that you don't lose your aerodynamic down mode.
Let's get down to the pit lane. There are problems for Ferrari. Here's James Allen.
Well, you're looking at a very worried team manager there, Bob. That's Santa Gadini, team manager of Ferrari. He's waiting for Gerhard Berger to come down the pit lane. He will start from the pit lane because he had problems with handling on the warm-up lap, and he's in the T car, just getting fitted into it right now, and we expect to see him any moment now come to the end of the pit lane, and he'll have to start from there.
Tough break for Gerhard Berger. He had additional surgery on that infected left elbow after the race in Hungary when he drove with stitches in his arm. They left the surgical incision open and put a tube in the arm. They will go back in after this race in preparation for the Italian Grand Prix in Monza in 2 weeks. Now the start here in Belgium is uphill, and part of the field will be back around that corner to the right at the rear of the field. So the drivers not only have to work the throttle and the clutch, they also have to keep a toe on that brake.
A lot of pressure on Prost here for the start. He's got to get this right. He has to get this right. There's a very tight hairpin immediately after the start.
There's the green flag. The lights will come next. Prost is on the left as you look at them. Hill is on the right. Let's see if Michael Schumacher takes a run at the lights if Prost staggers.
Prost has done a good one. Prost has done a good one.
Prost lights up the tires, and it's Schumacher behind him with problems. Schumacher away very slowly. And it looks like Jean Alesi will dive to the inside. Ayrton Senna takes the long line around the outside, but the leaders are through cleanly at La Source. Senna got around Damon Hill, it appeared, for second place. Let's see. It is Prost first, then Senna, then Damon Hill on the first run through Eau Rouge. Now over the top at Radial. Look at the elevation change. You see the paddock in the background. Here's a look at the start from our hosts at RBTF Belgian Television.
Schumacher just stopped. Schumacher just stopped. He's really lucky he didn't get collected by about 5 cars because the ones coming around the corner can't see what's coming up.
Now the high point of the racetrack at the end of the Kemmel straightaway. Lecombe, then the Malmedy corner. Here comes Prost, followed by Senna, then Hill, then Alesi. Oh, and Terry Boutsen has parked.
There's a local hero for sure, and I think it's going to be another long wait to see a Belgian win this Grand Prix.
Terry Boutsen celebrates his 10th anniversary in Formula 1 this weekend. His debut was in 1983 here in Belgium, and it has been a very short race. What a disappointment for him. I mentioned that a Belgian had never won here at Spa. No Belgian has ever won the Belgian Grand Prix in the modern era of Formula 1. The highest anyone has done is 3rd. Olivier Jean de Bienne and Jackie Ickx both did that.
I think it's just going to be a question of time before Hill muscles his way past Senna. Senna definitely does not have the same car that the Williams have, and he's going to really be trying to hold on to his chances for the championship today, but I think it's just going to be overpowered by that Renault. Rumor has it that Renault's got over 100 horsepower more than the next engine. Believe me, that's a lot of horsepower.
And that's a pretty informed rumor. Damon Hill, a little puff of smoke that looked like out of the back of the Williams as they run now down to the bus stop chicane. So named because that's exactly what it is in everyday life here in Spa. You see the track painters have been working in support of Alain Prost.
This is a perfect situation for Prost. He's got Senna holding up Hill. He'll just very quietly work his way away from the field, not use the car any, and all he's doing right now is what he's been doing in testing, just running laps in the perfect position.
Now we anticipate a tire stop. It should come somewhere between laps 15 and 20 of the 44 scheduled. And there may be 2.
I think this is it for Senna. At the end of the straightaway, yeah, there we go. And Senna's going back on it again.
And Hill drifts to the middle of the track in defensive posture. Good action there coming into Lacombe. Now let's see how quickly Damon Hill draws away from Senna in the McLaren. Pretty smartly from the look of it. This is the... Now here's a replay of the pass.
This is pure horsepower, nothing else but horsepower. Down the end of the straightaway, Senna can do nothing to hold him off at all.
Down the hill they go to the double left-hander, also taken at high speed. You're going to hear a lot of that today. This is Pouhon. Now you're on board with Ayrton Senna, and look how far away Damon Hill is already drawn.
That's in half a lap. That is in half a lap. You multiply that by the numbers of the race, it's going to be a long, long weekend for Senna.
But that bug won't have the guts to do that again. Now let's take another look at that start and the trouble suffered by Michael Schumacher from his onboard camera. Red light. Now the green.
When that light on the dashboard goes on, that means he's hit his rev limiter. So there's obviously something went wrong with his computer, or he probably pushed the wrong button. If you look on his steering wheel, he's got a whole series of buttons, and I'm sure they practice these starts often.
Now let's take a look at the start from Michael Andretti's position. Way back in 14th, he's got Carl Wendlinger in the Sauber just ahead of him. Those two names have been linked often in Formula One this year. Now there's Ricardo Patrese also getting away badly in the Benetton.
Both Benettons had trouble.
Oh, and Wendlinger right up there against Ruben Barrichello. Well, I don't know how he didn't get a wreck there.
Michael's obviously a lot more aggressive than he was at the beginning of the season. I think that is the right attitude to take. Don't give anybody any room and you won't have any problem. Somebody tried to attack him on the first 100 yards and he held his own, and that really is the general feeling you have to have in Formula One. They don't expect you to give any room, but if they feel that you're going to give them something, they're not just going to take a little, they're going to take it all.
So the third place car of Ayrton Senna go by, then Jean Alesi, then that was Schumacher, I believe. Or is that, yes, Michael Schumacher with the blue patch on top of his helmet gets around Aguri Suzuki for 5th place.
But Schumacher's a man with a mission. He wants to see if he can win his second Grand Prix at the place where he's won his first. He's a very talented driver. I watched him around the circuit today. I'd say he's probably one of the best new hot shoes in Formula One. This guy is really aggressive, and he's willing to take all the risks, I think, that are necessary. It might take some time for his style to develop more and learn how to win races like a master like Prost does.
Michael Schumacher has 4th. He will try a 5th, that is. He'll try to close in on Jean Alesi in 4th in the Benetton pits. They're probably trying to reconstruct that start, wondering if everything is all right with their cars. We'll be back live to Belgium. You ride with Alain Prost, Damon Hill running in 2nd place at the Grand Prix of Belgium. I wondered who that car was out in front. That is Alain Prost. You see just how close together the Williams teammates are running. Behind Prost and Hill, Ayrton Senna is 3rd, followed by Jean Alesi. I take that back. Actually, Michael Schumacher has gotten around Jean Alesi. And we'll show you that in just a moment. Schumacher, Alesi runs 5th now, followed by Aguri Suzuki, J.J. Leto, Derek Warwick, Johnny Herbert, and Martin Brundle rounding out the top 10.
Now, this is a place where the team manager plays a very important role. They obviously have the 2 fastest cars on the circuit. The #1 driver, that is Prost, has an enormous lead in the World Championship. The #2 driver is a young driver who wants to win every race that he gets into. If Hill pushes Prost too much, it's possible that they'll break their car. So we have to see now if they're actually going to run team orders or not. It would be an intelligent thing to do at this position.
All right, now let's go back and show you how Michael Schumacher got by Jean Alesi. You ride with Schumacher, Alesi just ahead as they go through the depression at Eau Rouge.
Now you can see in the corner here, the Benetton is handling much better than the Ford does. That's why it looks like he has a big horsepower advantage, but he actually gained 5 or 6 miles coming out of the corner, and then he just quits by him at the end of the straightaway, and there is absolutely nothing Alesi can do.
Now there is Alesi in the Ferrari pits. Problems for Jean Alesi early in this race. The team seems a little confused about what needs to be done.
Ferrari is going through a really rough moment right now. They're changing all their technical staff, and it's taking me a long time to get all of their technology up to speed.
As you see, Jean Alesi has climbed out of the Ferrari, a very unhappy Belgian Grand Prix for him. Terry Boutsen parked his car at the top of Eau Rouge at the Radillon corner with a gearbox problem.
This is not good for the Ferrari team because the next race is Monza, and all the Italian fans are looking to see how the Ferraris are going to do the race before Monza, and Monza for them is almost a religious event. Ferrari people come out there in droves, hundreds of thousands to see their cars. Alesi had a great qualifying run, and I'm sure he's bitterly disappointed to be out of the race so early on.
There you see J.J. Leto with Johnny Herbert just behind him. That's the battle for 7th place. There's Jean Alesi explaining to the crew what happened. Jean Todt just got a quick glimpse of the short man to the left of Alesi, the new team director at Ferrari, trying to get a grip on Ferrari's misfortune. Once again, J.J. Leto, who seems to be coming out of a recent slump and driving very well for Sauber. The Sauber team, of course, very closely associated with Mercedes, financially and technically supported by the German auto-building giant. But their 5-year contract comes to an end this season. And Peter Sauber, the Swiss who organizes the team, says we will renegotiate in the fall and get ready for the years to come. He seems very sanguine about their prospects for continuing to work with Mercedes. There is Johnny Herbert. Herbert in the Lotus trying to run down J.J. Leto. Very bumpy right there in the braking area for La Source, it appears.
I've been looking at the cars running. Here you take all sorts of different lines coming out. They have a traction control in these cars now where they no longer have to judge how much throttle they put into the car. And I can't understand why everybody takes a different line. I would have thought the shortest line would have been best, but obviously you don't know till you've driven one.
In the wet a few years ago, Nigel Mansell explored that line looking for water to keep his rain tires cool as the track dried out. After 5 laps, here's a look at the world graphics. Alain Prost, you see the elapsed time in the race next to Prost's name and the gap to the drivers running behind him. Sauber team, managed by the only female team manager in Formula One. Sharp downhill right-hander here. This is Radillon, and very steep here, Eddie.
It's just a very difficult place to get your car to balance right because it's one of the few corners that we raced on in Formula One that were going downhill. And the first of that series of 3 has got adverse camber in it. What I mean is exact opposite of being banked. So the car actually falls away from you as you exit. And it's really important that you exit at a good speed because there's a long series of faster corners that follow. And if you lose 3 or 4 miles coming out of one of those, you're going to lose it the whole way down. And it's the really most difficult thing I've found in driving in Spa is that since there are such a close series of corners, if you miss your apex by 1 foot, you will carry that foot all the way through to the end. So by the time you get to the last corner of 7, you're going to be very slow and you're going to be in the wrong place. So it's one of those places you don't really want to attack too much.
Look at the gap the Williams teammates have drawn out over Ayrton Senna in the red and white McLaren. And now here comes Michael Schumacher.
Now, this should be a fantastic battle. We have 2 completely different car manufacturers, Benetton and the McLaren, and they both have the same engine. And they've both been complaining about not getting the same engine as the other one. And you have 2 drivers that do not want to finish behind the other.
Here's a look at our Ford Electronics telemetry on Michael Schumacher's car. Throttle position in percentage on the left, RPM in numbers on the right, and look at the speed, just over 195 miles an hour to 196 before he hits the brakes. See the gear position, he's in 2nd gear. Really working that throttle.
This is almost more a battle of wills than a battle of cars right now. These are probably 2 of the most aggressive drivers in Formula One. I would put Berger and Alesi in the same category, but these guys are not known for taking no as an answer. So if Schumacher ever gets a run at Senna, Senna knows he's going to carry it through.
We saw that hillside covered with people, a huge crowd here in Belgium as the attendance numbers continue to pick up in Formula One since mid-season. when it was theorized that the absence of Nigel Mansell from the championship kept the crowds down, but they seem to have picked up. Organizers here say they are 10% ahead of last year's crowds in Belgium.
Nigel who? Who's this? I mean, he's the guy who races Indy cars now?
Right. Famous IndyCar driver. You'll make his acquaintance in Nazareth, I'm sure. Now back onto the public road that runs from the village of Stavelo uphill to the village at Spa.
The top speeds of these two cars, as you can see from this great in-car camera shot, is very similar. Where Schumacher makes up his ground is under braking. And it's always easier when you're following a car to make your mark on the car ahead. The car ahead, which is Senna in this place, he has to kind of like feel his way around the corner because he's the first one getting there.
Hear the brakes whistling as Schumacher slows the car for La Source way over on the left.
Now all the gears, as he's going up in the gearbox, he has already pre-selected with a button. The computer knows that it has to go up 4 gears before it gets to Eau Rouge. He does no longer touch. Neither of the drivers touch the gear lever. They don't touch any buttons at all. And then when they're going down the straightaway, they push another button that changes the drag of the car. It lowers the rear end, so the car is faster. These are all numbers they've gotten in a wind tunnel, and these are all things they know will give them that little advantage.
And many of these things will no longer be on the cars when new rules come into play in January. Right now, let's put paid to Jean Alesi's situation. James Allen is in the pit lane.
Well, Bob, for once, the Ferrari team being very uncooperative. They've got a big problem this weekend. Gerhard Berger's reason for going out in the spare car is because that car has a reinforced rear push rod. There's no reason being given at all for Alesi's retirement. They've pulled the garage doors down. They're nothing like as friendly here as they are in Indy cars, as we well know. But maybe that has something to do with it. The mechanics are working at the rear suspension of the car at the moment in the garage.
Well, meanwhile, Alesi's teammate Gerhard Berger has gone from last. Remember, he started from the pit lane. He is now up to 16th, and he is on the charge. We'll take a quick timeout while this battle stabilizes and be back with more live from the Grand Prix of Belgium at Spa. Welcome back to beautiful Spa, Belgium, in the heart of the Ardennes forest in southeastern Belgium, about an hour-and-a-half drive from the European capital of Brussels. The big industry here in Spa is tourism, and particularly the waters of Spa. The obvious reference you might take from a town that calls itself Spa. Of course, it's famous to historians as the pivotal point in 2 world wars. And that monument to the heroes, the Belgian heroes of the 2 world wars, stands in the center of town. Now, this is Michael Schumacher you're riding with. He is in 4th place behind Ayrton Senna, just ahead in the McLaren. Jean Alesi's Ferrari dropping out has elevated those behind. Aguri Suzuki runs 5th, followed by Johnny Herbert, J.J. Leto, Derek Warwick, Martin Brundle, and Carl Wendlinger. Michael Andretti presently runs in 13th place as they pound their way through the bus stop chicane.
I think the cars are set up a little bit differently. Watching this battle, Senna seems to be able to pull away just enough to get out of Schumacher's reach under braking. Right at the end of the straightaway, Schumacher is never close enough to pass him. I cannot really see any place he's going to be able to pass him unless he can get in his toe at the beginning of the straightaway. So this is a very tactical battle right now. These are 2 really hard-headed racing drivers.
Word from the pits is an active suspension problem was the reason Jean Alesi retired his Ferrari. We mentioned the changes coming next year, Eddie. Limited number of engines per team, getting rid of the active suspension, traction control, and so forth as Shoeboxer comes up. What are your impressions of next year's rules?
I think they're great. I think I have always admired the technology that is available in Formula One. I've admired the teams like McLaren and Williams that have been able to produce such fantastic racing machines. But I think it has now become a world championship of engineers and no longer a world championship of drivers, and that's a mistake. They've got to bring it back more into the driver's court. The best drivers will always have the best cars, but there's too much of a difference between those that have and those that do not.
Through Pouhon, the battle rages. You got a great look at the size of this crowd from the helicopter shot overhead. How about refueling in Formula 1A?
I don't know if that will work. There's a lot of people in the pits here. Refueling is something you have to learn how to do, and Indy cars do it better than anybody else in racing, and it's taken them a long time to do it. The reason we run methanol in Indy cars is that it burns slower. With these exotic mixtures they run in Formula 1, if anything would go wrong, and things always do go wrong, even when they're well prepared, it would be a horrific explosion.
Off of the private section of racetrack, Schumacher quickly grabs at his visor.
Now that's one of the best things for a driver that you can do. It gives you like an extra burst of energy when you take that rip off of your visor and you see clear. It always works wonders on me. When I'm having a difficult time, I'm trying to follow somebody, you get that clean visor on, you think like you just took a shower. You're ready to go again.
Damon Hill has now fallen 5.9 seconds behind his teammate Alain Prost, riding with that 0 number that Prost refused at the beginning of the year. A victory by a Renault-powered engine would be the 50th for the brand in World Championship competition, in Formula One at least, from 1950 to date.
These are the conditions that Prost loves. He hates a battle. He does not like going head-to-head with somebody. He will do it and be very quick at it. But when he's on his own and he's in front and he knows he has the best car, there is not a racing driver alive that will be able to drive the car as fast as he does without using it. Prost does not use a racing car. He just lets the racing car run its own way, and he will bring a car home if it's possible to do it. And like you're seeing, he's running away from Hill, who has exactly the same car that he does.
Now, you hold Prost in a lot of admiration, and yet your days driving with him for the factory Renault team were probably not the most pleasant of your career.
Well, I learned a lot running with him, but Prost is not what you would call a teammate. A teammate is somebody you would share information with, and both parties would gain. Prost had a bad year the year before I went there with Arnoux, so I was put in a very secondary position, and he was very honorable on the racing track, and he always gave me room when I came up to pass him, but he made sure the team was woven around him and his aspirations. But he is, you have to admire the guy. He's tenacious, he's blindingly quick, and he has a way of racing that he does not use his car. I'm sure he made a deal with the devil somewhere along the road, because he's just, I don't know how he does it.
Behind this battle, Michael Andretti. Oh, no battle. Well, Damon Hill has the racetrack all to himself. But Michael Andretti is now up into 12th position. Let's learn what we can now from James Allen in the pit lane.
Well, Bob, Carl Wendlinger just flew into the pits about a lap ago. He stayed here for a little while. The reason was because his windscreen was broken. And of course, at the speeds you get up to here at Spa, over 200 miles an hour, just imagine the buffeting that goes onto your helmet side to side without a windshield just to deflect the air over the top. Very unpleasant for him, but he's lost some time.
Tough break for Carl Wendlinger. We now have 11 laps complete. This race is 44 laps long. It is going down at a furious pace. We're at quarter distance. Up the shimmering Kemmel straightaway, an uphill run to a sharp right-hander called Lecombe. Here comes Senna, still with Schumacher just behind, and the length of the straightaway open behind them.
Schumacher's got to come out of the corners a little bit closer to him, because Senna always manages to break the toe. I think when they get up in traffic the first time, that could be the first big break that Schumacher's going to have. This is not an easy place to pass.
Down the hill they come. That's Ricardo Patrese in the green and yellow Benetton, running in 9th place behind Derek Warwick in the red and white footwork. Patrese has been told by the Benetton team this weekend that he is a free agent in the offseason. They may have him back, but they may not, and if he wants to cut a deal elsewhere, he can. And he just blasts around Derek Warwick to take over the 8th spot behind J.J. Leto. So this is 7th, 8th, and 9th all running together. And Martin Brundle in the blue Ligier coming up from 10th to try to make it a 4-car train. Ricardo Patrese, 252 Grand Prix and counting. Rumors have been going on about Ricardo retiring for the sport for so long that nobody believes them anymore. Here's Rubens Barrichello, the youngest man in the field at age 21. Terry Boutsen is already out, so this could be very bad news for the Jordan team. Here's James Allen.
Yeah, Rubens Barrichello making his way slowly into the pits. We saw him slowing down, just grabbed a quick word. The reason is the right rear suspension, so we just check out, see what the mechanics do. They're all, pouring over the right rear suspension. Something very unbalanced. I understand Damon Hill's in the pits, though, Bob.
Damon Hill is, in fact, in and out. Now, this is a very early tire stop. Schumacher is in as well, so everybody must be feeling their tires going off, Eddie.
I would assume so, but again, Prost was not the first one in. Of this group, I think Prost will probably be the last, because look at Schumacher. Obviously, his computer's not quite working the way it wanted to when his tires are cold. That's more what you should see. I should see the driver having to adapt to certain situations and not the computers doing it. I think it is wrong that when a corner comes out of a corner that the throttle is not an important part. It's a very important part for the
Now there you see Barrichello climbing out of his car. Meanwhile, Gerhard Berger straight-lined the chicane at the bus stop. Well, not exactly straight line. Tried to make the corner, bounced over the curbs, and continued. We'll see if there's going to be any kind of penalty for that.
And Michael Andretti is 11th. Michael's working his way through the field. I think his biggest problem, just looking at him,
throughout the weekend. He just doesn't seem to have set in well. He doesn't look comfortable in the car. He doesn't look like he's carrying any speed into the corners. And if he gets a very good race in a place like this, it'll give him an enormous boost, because this is the most difficult track on the circuit, and he's passed some very impressive people with some powerful engines like Blundell, who's running a Ligier to get in the position that he's in.
There you see the McLaren team preparing tires with those expensive but very effective tire warmers, keeping the rubber as hot as possible before the drivers come in. This is Senna off of the private track and onto the public road, the Stavelo Spa Road. About 175 miles an hour through here. And listen for the shifting when he approaches the chicane.
But notice is...
Oh, Alain Prost has come in. You saw the brake dust flying. Keeps those revs up, drops the clutch, smokes the tires.
Yeah.
Very narrow pit lane here at Spa.
Almost hits the pit wall on the way out. And Senna's in.
James Allen is standing by.
Senna, just a few seconds after we saw Alain Prost slide the car, just missing Senna's McLaren mechanics. He comes in to change his tyres. Goes like clockwork, as always, with the McLaren team. Did you hear the traction control bite as he went out of the pit lane? He's back in the fight, Bob.
Now we'll see who had the quickest pit stop, whether it was Schumacher's team or Senna's.
Could have been the Williams team, could have been the McLaren team. I guess based on past history, you'd have to guess McLaren. They are really quick.
No, he got by him. See, that's what happens when your pit crew is not quite up to speed as they should be. I can assure you right now there's some very curt messages going back from Senna to his pit crew, because he was holding off Schumacher, and Schumacher was not going to get around him on the track. And now we're in a different position. We've got Schumacher ahead and we've got Senna following, and I think Schumacher will be able to get away from him.
Now this is just what happened last year. Schumacher won with a well-timed and well-executed Benetton pit stop. He was actually following his then teammate Martin Brundle. Noticed that Brundle's tires were going off, pitted early, got back out, got the jump on everybody, and went on to win the race, even though Nigel Mansell and Ricardo Patrese in the superior Williams Renaults were doing all they could to run him down.
Tire wear. Obviously, this race is going to be all about tire wear. If they came in that early, you'd have to assume they're going to have to do it again. Even although the fuel loads are a little bit lighter, now the cars have gotten rid of a little bit of fuel, the tires will be wearing less, but I think it is possible that you might have another tire change.
And here's Patrese and J.J. Leto battling for 7th place behind Johnny Herbert in the Lotus just ahead.
I'm glad they're showing this battle, because this is what racing is all about, not only in the first 2 or 3 places. Patrese is always, I had him as a teammate for many years, even in go-karts. He's a much better qualifier than he is a racer. But once he gets into a race, he will hammer down that car ahead of him until he finds a way around it. He's capable of sitting on his gearbox for the whole race.
And the 2 oldest men in Formula One right now are running nose to tail. Derek Warwick behind him just turned 39 on Friday, and Patrese is already 39. And they are looking very racy here at Spa. A good battle as they flash down to the Blanchimont corner. We'll be back with more live coverage of the Formula One Grand Prix of Belgium in just a moment. At Spa-Francorchamps, Belgium. There you see the McLaren crew with tires ready for an anticipated stop by Michael Andretti. Michael running in 10th place right now. Attrition ahead of him has helped Michael to move up. There is the race leader, Alain Prost. He has a 9.7-second lead over teammate Damon Hill, followed by Michael Schumacher in 3rd, Ayrton Senna in 4th.
These are just the conditions that Prost he could win every championship if he could have this sort of conditions running for every time. This is what I would call the turkey shoot. He can do what he wants in these conditions. He could widen his gap, shorten it, run less revs, not use his tires. An interesting point that I saw is that the faster cars are pitting earlier than the slower cars are. They haven't made that big of a gap, but obviously these guys in the front are really pushing hard to get a bit of break between those behind him. Michael is having a really good race. We just saw him a moment ago in a pretty aggressive pack, and we'll see if he can work his way through that. As they explain these cars to me, they're very delicate to brake, to drive, because you have to maximize. Michael's in.
Let's get down to James Allen.
Michael Andretti comes in, even waved as he came in, fairly nonchalant, but he's lifting his visor up now, looking very calm, composed and collected. He's stalled the engine. The engine has stalled. No. We're getting jostled here by McLaren mechanics. He's furiously waving his finger. You can see there. Just lifted his hands off the wheel. He can't believe it. Pounds the steering wheel. Not again. The man with the worst luck in Formula One. Start, please, he says. It fires up, and in seconds, Michael Andretti will rejoin the race. But what a tragic loss of time for Michael, the most unlucky man in Formula One, Eddie.
He did not need it. Michael needs a break. Michael needs a break not only for the team but for himself. He needs to get a good aggressive result under his belt.
Now here's Aguri Suzuki, who is climbing out of the car. Suzuki was running up in the top 6, so he will lose a possible point. Meanwhile, this man, Alain Prost, cruises serenely on. 51 Formula One career victories. There are only 12 other men in this race who have that many Grand Prix starts. Absolutely spectacular. Now, a Williams-Renault victory not only would be the 50th in Formula One competition for Renault, but it would also help the Williams team possibly clinch their second straight constructors title. The magic number for Williams is 64. If they come out of today's race with a 64-point lead over their nearest pursuer, and at this point that would be either McLaren or Benetton, they will clinch here today in Belgium.
Now let's see how he gets through some traffic. He needs to stay away from Hill. He needs to have a comfortable cushion, so all he has to think about is his driving and is keeping his car in one place. He does not need to get in a battle with Hill.
Johnny Herbert in and out with a little wag of the tail of the Lotus Ford. We saw a lot of early tire stops, so I would anticipate we'll see a lot of guys coming back in. But Eddie, you just pointed out that Alain Prost is very good with his tires. Pierluigi Martini is off.
He's off and he's stuck. There's no getting out of that stuff. That is a very intelligent use of space to have that gravel there, because it's a lot better to go through a gravel and not hit a guardrail. But that gravel, once you're in it, it's like being in quicksand. You might as well get out because your day is over.
So Martini is out. You saw that little glow from the interior of the wheels on the Williams Renault of Alain Prost as the carbon brakes heat up and then cool down. And Christian Fittipaldi has hit the wall on the front stretch.
That's a very strange place to have an accident, because it really is just nothing more than a curve before a straightaway. They got to get that stuff out of the way, because if two cars come by close.
Oh, he messed up. Limping on that left leg, Christian Fittipaldi, who had a huge crash last year in France and cracked a vertebra. His career in Formula One has been pretty painful thus far.
And the team he's racing with, Minardi, is having a few financial woes right now, so this is not something they needed. They need to finish to run the car, and they haven't tested much this season either, so a lot of these teams are almost considering these races as test sessions.
Damon Hill goes around, dust kicked up on the racetrack by someone putting a wheel off. Actually looked like the right leg that Fittipaldi hit, and that would be the side of the car that he hit first. Now here's a replay after the initial impact on the left side as we look at the racetrack.
Look at his rear wheel still accelerating. What I think happened, I think something must have broken, because the way he turned into that guardrail, it was not, there really isn't a corner beforehand. You've got very little to do in that bit of track.
Alain Prost coming down the hill. Now here's a look from Belgian television of Pierluigi Martini spinning off. The two Minardis going off on essentially the same lap.
They're consistent.
There are budgets and budgets in Formula One. Earlier this weekend, Christian Fittipaldi said the Minardi team has not been able to test this year since February. Another Benetton pit stop here. That's Riccardo Patrese.
Now, he was the last one of the quick runners to come in for tires. Now, if it is going to be only a two-change race, it's going to be tricky, because he will have fresher tires than anybody else, so he might be able to make it to the end.
Let's get back to my point about Prost. You mentioned he is very good with his tires. Patrese spun on the pit exit, and now he comes right out ahead of J.J. Leto with his teammate Carl Wendlinger just behind.
Now he's got to go through them all over again.
And slow into Eau Rouge. He's going to come under attack by one of the Ligers.
That's the same sort of problem that Schumacher had the first time he came out. I would say their tire heaters are not heating the tires enough. The reason they use those tire heaters is not so much for the speed, but the safety. When you go out the pits, you know you have a car that is going to be working.
Martin Brundle in the blue Ligier gets around Riccardo Patrese.
And now he's rolling. I mean, he's almost punch drunk right now.
There's a look at Patrese coming out. Well, yeah, he did. He went all the way around.
Patrese's biggest problem right now, she's just been passed by 3 cars, 2 of them on the road, and Warwick is right behind him. And Warwick knows he's vulnerable right now. He's going to go for him as quickly as he can, because if he can get by him in this next half a lap, Patrese's tire pressures are not going to be up.
The leaderboard is tumbling by the minute. Right now it is Prost, Hill, Schumacher, Senna, Herbert, Berger, Leto, Brundle, and then I think Patrese. We'll tell you when we come back. Eau Rouge through the Radillon corner, where that savage crash by Alessandro Zanardi took place on Friday. You ride with race leader Alain Prost at the Grand Prix of Belgium. He is out front with his teammate Damon Hill in second. Now, we mentioned the Constructors' Championship. In order for Williams to clinch that championship today, they need to lead Benetton and or McLaren by 64 points when day is done. They currently lead by 62. If Alain Prost and Damon Hill can hold on for a 1-2, Williams will be the 1993 Constructors' Champions.
If you look at Prost's hands, he has two options of changing gears. If you hear his revs, they're very low right now. What he's doing is he's changing him manually. Look at his left thumb, and you can see him change the gear. So what he's doing, he's not revving the engine as high as he can, because he knows that he has a big advantage on everybody, and he's just trying to make his car run as quickly as he can without using anything. They can pre-select things, but when they pre-select the gears, the computer knows to rev it all the way to the rev limiter, and he's not doing that right now.
Let's listen to the sound of this V10 as Prost works behind the Tyrrell up ahead.
This man is a surgeon. He's not a racing driver. Everything he's doing right now is manual, because I think he's trying to just save the car. Save the car. He doesn't go out wide coming out of the hairpin.
You think he's going to try to save those tires and not make another stop?
He's worked out every possible option in his head. He's even downshifting here once to make sure the car handles, but this is a corner in qualifying. Now see the button he pushes on the left? That button changes the aerodynamic attitude of the car and allows him to be fast in the straightaway. Now listen to him downshift.
Now, meanwhile, his teammate Damon Hill is closing up. There you see the gap, just 2 seconds between the two Williams teammates.
Prost might be trying to make it on just one tire stop. It's possible. He could be thinking of trying to make it on one tire stop. He's somebody who has a very good feel for what his car can give him. And maybe right now he's working into his computations how close he can let Hill get, or exactly what he wants to do. You never know with him. I mean, he's capable of working stuff out in his head that other people have to sit down at a table with a piece of paper and work it all out. He can do it right then as he's running. That is a mark of a tremendous champion.
Aguri Suzuki's problem was the gearbox in his footwork, so his race is run. The order right now: Prost, Hill, Schumacher, Senna, then Johnny Herbert, Gerhard Berger, J.J. Leto, Martin Brundle. Ricardo Patrese has gotten back around Brundle now to take 8th place. Brundle runs 9th, and Derek Warwick is 10th with Michael Andretti 11th right now. Behind him, it is Blundell, De Cesaris, Ayo, Comas, Katayama, Badawar, Alboreto, and Wendlinger. We'll be back. Spa-Francorchamps is a part of the theater of operations in one of the key battles of World War II, the Battle of the Bulge. That monument built by the people of Belgium to honor the Americans who fought here. This museum standing next to the monument, put together with the collaboration of both commanding officers, General Anthony McAuliffe of the United States and General Hasso von Manteuffel of the German Army. And it is an absolutely breathtaking attraction here in the Spa area. James Allen is standing by in the pit lane here at Spa-Francorchamps with more on how the drivers see racing here in Belgium. James?
Well, earlier in the race, Eddie made the point that when you tear off visor, you see the whole world in a different light, and everything's a lot easier. Well, this has just come off Michael Schumacher's helmet when he made his tire stop. Obviously, he was following Senna in the early stages. There's a lot of flies out there because we're in the forests, a lot of dirt on the track because this is a public road with trucks running up and down it and cars, everyday cars most of the time. So obviously going to get through a lot of tire visors this time.
And believe me, they'll be glad they have a lot on them.
Now here's a look at a pass that Patrese made on I believe that was J.J. Leto behind him. The car on the right in orange was one of the Lola Ferraris that have absolutely frustrated their drivers, Michele Alboreto and Luca Badur. Right now, Badur and Alboreto run 17th and 18th. The last cars still running. Of the 25 starters, 18 are still in it.
He's just passed all those cars that when he spun past him, but not only, he's back in the position he was in, but you have to remember this is a tire race, and by doing that he had to use his tires more. So he has ruined his chances, not only on time, how much time he lost, but he might not be able to make it to the end of the race if he was planning to. So his whole strategy might have changed now.
Slowing for the bus stop chicane, using the curbs as everyone does here. Leto getting straightened up. Behind him, Martin Brundle, Derek Warwick, then the lapped Lola, and here comes Michael. Michael Andretti runs in 10th place right now, and he is closing in on Derek Warwick, and just behind Michael, here comes race leader Alain Prost. So Michael is moving up. But right now, he's going to have to fight to stay on lap. Now, there's Mark Blundell in the blue Ligier, almost tangled there with Damon Hill coming out of La Source.
Prost has kept his distance from Hill pretty consistent the last 3 laps. So we're right back up to about 2.5 seconds right now. And as they get through traffic, it'll be interesting to see which of the 2 drivers manages to get through without losing the most time.
There goes Michael. Here comes Prost, followed closely by Damon Hill.
It's down to 2.5 now.
Mark Blundell a lap down. There's Gerhard Berger, who has driven brilliantly. He started in the pit lane. There is Michael Schumacher. Berger is a lap down right now, however. He had a long pit stop.
Did you notice how Schumacher drove all the way to the left to avoid that dust storm? He could not see what was behind that, so it was a very wise move. There could have been a car parked there.
Riding with Michael Schumacher. Now, Alain Prost had a close call with Mark Blundell, lapping him just a few moments ago. Let's take a look.
I don't know what Prost is really... Looks to me like he's starting to worry about the guys behind him, because that was a pretty risky move. He could have waited a little bit and passed him in a different position. That's the Ligier that's running exactly the same engine that they should have, and yet you can see the difference. That big difference is that Prost exits the corners faster than the Ligier does.
Michael Schumacher getting him crossed up just a little bit there as he attempts to run down Damon Hill. He is about 9 seconds behind him right now.
He's
Schumacher
got to work
says
the traffic, doesn't he? He's got to work the traffic. He's got to work the traffic to his advantage.
a tremendous number of German flags in this crowd. Schumacher says he has 3 home races. Monaco, where he now lives, Germany, of course, his nationality, and this race in Belgium, just 60 miles from his hometown of Kerpen, Germany.
This could be a problem for Schumacher. He's got Berger ahead of him, and Berger, I can assure you, has no intentions of letting him go by.
Berger once again is a lap down, running in 12th position, with Mark Blundell, the blue car, just ahead of him going through Eau Rouge. There you see the Ford Electronics telemetry. Full throttle up the hill, up to 6th gear, over the top. Whoa, those titanium rub strips on the bottom. A shower of sparks right into the visor of Michael Schumacher. And there's Gerhard Berger, not wanting to let him go by.
Berger is not one, whoops. Berger is not one of those drivers. And look, Schumacher had to go all the way offline to get past him.
Now you're back with Damon Hill. Just ahead is Alain Prost. These two have just lapped Michael Andretti.
Now, it's unfortunate we cannot hear what Patrick Head or Frank Williams are telling these two drivers, because you would have to assume that they both know that they have a superior car. Prost does not need to be pushed by Hill at this moment. But if the team is not giving orders, Hill can do what he wants. Prost is going to win the championship. It's almost impossible that Prost could lose a championship. But you don't want to start making mistakes like this when you have such a big advantage.
Earlier this year at the Grand Prix of France in Manicourt, we saw team orders demonstrated. Damon Hill followed Alain Prost very closely, but did not pressure him, never attempted the pass. Prost is the points leader. If he can score the maximum of 10 here, he will go to the Grand Prix of Italy in 2 weeks with an opportunity to clinch his 4th World Championship. And only the legendary Juan Manuel Fangio of Argentina has more than that. We'll be back with more live coverage from the Grand Prix of Belgium. Stay with us. Back Back live in Belgium, riding along with race leader Alain Prost, who has less than a second lead over his teammate Damon Hill in a 1-2 for the Williams-Renault team. It's going to be a big day of live auto racing for you here on ESPN. Coming up later today, 4 p.m. Eastern Time, 1 p.m. Pacific, the Indy cars from beautiful Vancouver, Canada. Paul Page and Derek Daly will be bringing you the action at 4 p.m. Eastern Time live here on ESPN. Speaking of Indy cars, former IndyCar driver Michael Andretti of the United States has moved well into the top 10. He runs 9th now ahead of Mark Blundell. It is Prost, Hill, Schumacher, Senna, Herbert, Patrese, Leto, Brundle, Andretti, and Blundell, your top 10. Michael started well back in 14th, and he's moving up. Now one of the Tyrrells, Andrea de Cesaris or Katayama de Cesaris. The Tyrrells have blown one engine after another. What's the matter, you engine?
And Andrea de Cesaris is furious with the guy. Fire officials have a habit of doing that here in Europe. It's an overkill. He probably had a little bit of, all he needed was one squirt. Now it will take them 2 days to get all those chemicals off the car. It's a good thing for safety, and if there's really a big problem, but don't overdo it.
Those Yamaha V10 engines, supervised by Englishman John Judd and his well-respected engine works, they have gone through about 4 of them this weekend. I think Katayama blew 3 of them, and now Andrea de Cesaris loses 1 in the race. At least that's the preliminary thought. With brake discs glowing, the number 2 Williams-Renault of Alain Prost, a little man with the interesting nose, broken like a boxer's, pointing in every direction at once like a bad compass.
He's just marching on right now. He's just eating up miles. He's trying to eat as many miles as he can and not use the car.
We have 28 laps complete of 44 scheduled. The smoke you see, I believe, is from de Cesaris' meltdown. Alain Prost trained as a cabinet maker and decided he wanted to be a professional soccer player if he were to be an athlete. He and his father went on a holiday to Monaco to watch the Grand Prix, and Alain Prost thought this needs a little investigating. And he went off and tried a racing kart. Bought his first one for the equivalent about $700 and never bought another race car after that, he says. I believe you knew him in those days, Eddie.
I raced against him in France when I was about 13 years old.
Michael Schumacher in for another tire stop. James Allen, anything unusual?
Nothing unusual, Bob. Just that second stop, as we predicted at the start of the race. Obviously, this track, it's been resurfaced in Eau Rouge, as we mentioned, but it's obviously eating up the tires. It's also quite hot today. It was a lot warmer today than it's been either yesterday or indeed on Friday during the qualifying sessions.
Prost is working the traffic better than Hill. He's gotten away. He picked up another second in the last lap and a half. He's got to get by.
He's got J.J. Leto just ahead of him there in the Sauber.
He needs to get by him after this corner, otherwise he's going to have to stick with him for about another 2 to 3 kilometers.
J.J. Leto, the last unlapped car on the lead lap. He now goes down a lap. That will leave 6 cars. The top 6 cars, the only cars earning points here, are the only unlapped cars.
That was a risky pass, but it was well worth it.
Alain Prost heads down to the Stavelot corner, named for the nearby village of Stavelot. This track was once over 8 miles long, but in 1983 it was shortened up to a mere 4.3. Absolutely majestic in its grandeur. You can take your car and drive virtually the entire circuit, certainly the old circuit, and to go down the hill and drive through the Mastakink at totally legal road speeds, of course. And imagine what it was like to go through there in a Formula One car, or perhaps a Ford GT40 sports car, or a Porsche at 160 miles an hour or so. Must have been truly breathtaking. Now, Alessandro Zanardi's crash you've already seen. He spoke to the press yesterday with dark glasses on, and here's what Zanardi had to say about the crash and his post-race care.
They have checked me with all the different systems. I've done all the X-ray in all the body. I've done the scanner. I've done another check, which is brain check. Actually, they found that I have a brain, so it's quite encouraging for me. And nothing. They said that everything is okay. What I need is just rest, because obviously they said that I'm being. I had a big shock, so what I need is just 4 or 5 days without staying away from noises, lights, and have some rest.
Well, we've certainly seen some graphic images of that accident, but what about this one? Just been given to me by a Belgian photographer of Alessandro Zanardi's shunt. It's the third Lotus tub he's written off this season. Look at that. There's his head right there, pressed right forward into the steering wheel, his arm outside. A very, very lucky man.
I can assure you, from those that have not been in an accident like that, that is not a very nice thing to be, how to pass your time. It's horrible when you're having an accident because they seem, although it lasts maybe 1 second, a second and a half, it feels like 5 minutes. Everything goes by with very slow, graphic description.
Riding now with Damon Hill, who was right on Prost's gearbox earlier. Now he seems to have dropped back a bit. Meanwhile, Michael Andretti is lapping at the same pace as his teammate Ayrton Senna. But he remains in 9th place. Senna is in 4th. Whoops, someone going slowly, headed for the pits? Yes, it looks like Yukio Kaneyama will pit the Tyrrell.
And I think Hill just went into the pits.
Yes, he did. Damon Hill is in the pits. He was just behind Alain Prost. Obviously, Damon thinks he needs more rubber.
Now, the more laps Prost can get in on this set, the bigger advantage he's going to have at the end of the race. But Hill, on the other, if he knows he's going to have to come in again, we'll see what the changes.
Boy, you can see just how narrow that pit lane is. Now, here's where Patrese spun. Speaking of Patrese, there he is, going by Eric Comas in the brightly painted LaRousse Lamborghini, a Chrysler-sponsored engine. Rumor has it that Ron Dennis from McLaren has been talking to a variety of different engine builders, including our friends from Chrysler. Saw the number of laps remaining. Alain Prost gotten out of the gas just a little bit. And this is interesting. Prost lapping at 154 and doing it very comfortably. Everyone else struggling to get under 155. Michael Schumacher just turned in a 153.
Only Prost could know exactly how many laps he can do in his tires right now. Everybody else, I don't even think his team is capable of making that decision for him. He has to feel the car. He has to know how the tire consumption has gone to date. Unlike Indy cars, every time you come in for tires, you get fuel. He starts with a full tank. And as he goes through his run, the car gets lower and lower on fuel. And he's in a position to do well.
He has 14 laps to go, 13 laps when he reaches the start-finish line. His teammate Damon Hill has already pitted for new tires. It remains to be seen if Prost will. Back in Belgium, Alain Prost pits for a second set of tires. His teammate Damon Hill has already pitted. You see the brake dust flying as the new rubber goes on.
Well, something's wrong. Why doesn't he take it? Oh, that's costing him time. That's important time. That's important time. He's only like 3 seconds ahead of Hill.
A long stop, some 9 seconds on that stop, about 3 seconds longer than it should be. Now Damon Hill should be approaching, and there he goes. Damon Hill is your new leader at the Grand Prix of Belgium as they head down to Eau Rouge. One of the Saubers was parked by the side of the road there. Here comes Martin Brundle in the blue Ligier, followed by new race leader Damon Hill.
It's a fight. Right now, it's a fight. We have very few, not that many laps to go. Is it 12 laps to go? It's going to be a fight between the two Williams drivers. Obviously, there are no team orders.
Damon Hill so slowly through La Source, so named because there is a water spring that runs under there. Officials thought about building a hotel on that spot, but they were prevented because of the water running underneath the racetrack at that point.
Prost has got two problems now. Hill is pulling away from him, and Schumacher is going to get him at the end of this straightaway.
Pulling up very
I think
quickly.
he's got him. He's got him. He gained a lot of time at the Eau Rouge.
Oh, Prost. Oh, and Schumacher had to light him up to get it load up for the corner. And now Schumacher hard on the power and gets a little tail happy there in the Malmedy corner.
What is Prost doing? He had the race in his hands. He had 8 seconds at one point over the cars. He's going to have to get back on a more aggressive rhythm. Schumacher is not only after Prost and having passed him, he's after Hill. And it looks to me like he can probably run with him.
Now here's another look side by side. Schumacher, you saw taking that quick glance over at Prost, and then right here, bang.
I don't know if he created any problems with his tires, because sometimes when you do that, if you keep your foot too long on the brake pedal, they will flat spot the tires and you get a horrible vibration. You can barely even see the ground. Prost has got to make a move now. Prost has got to make a move now that Schumacher has got a problem with Ligier ahead of him.
Meanwhile, Damon Hill is not wasting time. He just turned in his fastest lap yet, a 152. So Damon Hill obviously has been given free rein to pull away.
But the fastest lap of the race is held by Schumacher.
We'll take a quick timeout and be back for more live coverage of the Grand Prix of Belgium. Alain Prost appears to be dropping back from Schumacher. We are back live in Belgium as Alain Prost, running third in the Grand Prix of Belgium, launches himself back onto the Spa-Stavelot road. That car in the distance, Michael Schumacher, in second place in the Benetton, slowly drawing away from Prost, who absolutely dominated the early laps of this race. He has obviously got some kind of problem. Although Schumacher is now blocked, Prost may be able to draw back in. Now, while this story unfolds, James Allen is standing by in the pits with a very special guest here in Spa. James?
That's right, Bob. We're down here with an old friend, 1961 Formula One world champion, Phil Hill. Phil, you love this circuit. You won here in 61. Tell us about it.
It's a fabulous circuit. Even though they've cut it down a little bit, it's still the most beautiful of them all. It's great.
Well, that was all 32 years ago. What do you think of the modern Formula One cars now?
See, they're just fabulous pieces of machinery, and they're putting on a terrific show today.
Would you like to have driven one?
Yeah, I would. Wouldn't mind it, you know, at least to try one anyhow, right now.
Well, thanks very much for talking to us, Phil. Nice to see you again.
Phil Hill won this race in his championship year at 1961, and I bet he could make a Formula One car get around just a little bit. Phil will be with us in Monza in 2 weeks' time, and that should be a very special occasion. He's going to drive his World Championship winning Ferrari in a demonstration at that event. Now, Alain Prost remains with his private battles in third. Here's Ayrton Senna in fourth, presently shown 21 seconds behind Prost.
And Andretti has dropped a place. He's back in 10th now.
So the running order is Damon Hill, Michael Schumacher, Alain Prost, Ayrton Senna, Johnny Herbert, Ricardo Patrese. Those are your points-paying cars. Then Martin Brundle, Gerhard Berger, J.J. Leto, Michael Andretti battling with Mark Blundell.
This is a great race for Schumacher. Not only has he split the two Renault Williams that are really superior machines, you have to say, with their engine, but he's also had the better of Senna with the same engine, with the same Ford engine. So this really, he has a lot to be proud of himself, and I don't really think the race is over yet. If he can make a good run at Hill, who knows what can happen. I'm baffled by Prost. I can't understand what's happening to Prost. He must have a technical problem because he really was in a great position before.
Well, we'll explore that issue, take a quick time out, and return on a glorious day in Spa-Francorchamps, Belgium. More action coming live from the Grand Prix of Belgium. Stay with us. We are back live with 9 laps remaining at the Grand Prix of Belgium. You ride along with race leader Damon Hill. Fast lap of the race has been reset by Michael Schumacher. Now let's take a look at our Suzuki motorcycle mid-race recap. Damon Hill is your leader. He has led since lap 31, taking the lead from Alain Prost when the race leader Prost had a lengthy pit stop. Prost led the first 30 laps. Hill has led since then. Those out of the race, including the only Belgian in the race, Terry Boutsen. You have Jean Alesi, Rubens Barrichello, Aguri Suzuki, Pierluigi Martini, Christian Fittipaldi, who crashed on the front stretch and limped off. We hope that leg is all right. Andre de Cesaris blew up in his Tyrrell Yamaha, and Carl Wendlinger has parked his Sauber with gearbox troubles. It is Hill, Schumacher, Prost, and Senna, the top 4. Johnny Herbert 5th, Ricardo Patrese 6th. Let's see if we can learn more about Alain Prost's technical situation with James Allen in the pit lane.
Bob, not surprising the Williams team being remarkably cagey about what Alain Prost's problem is, but I tell you one thing, it's not showing up on the telemetry, which means it's not the active suspension and it isn't the engine. Makes us believe that it probably is the brakes.
We have an interesting situation coming up right here with Damon Hill about to lap Schumacher's teammate Patrese. We'll see if Patrese can assist Schumacher. Nope, there's no assisted here at all amongst the teammates. That was a very risky pass, and it was well worth it. We don't have many laps to go. Hill does not want anybody on his tail, and he's going for it.
Interesting to note that after Nigel Mansell won his first Grand Prix back at Brands Hatch in 1985, I believe, he immediately went on and won the next Grand Prix to follow. It took Nigel several seasons to win his first and then went right on and won his next. Could it be that Damon Hill, having won his first Grand Prix a couple of weeks ago in Hungary, will also go on and win his second to start immediately following? Extraordinary. Now Schumacher, whoa, has gone around Ricardo Frese, and now he's chasing Damon Hill.
And now this is a head-to-head with two of the hottest new drivers in Formula One, Schumacher and Hill. We're going to see which of these two guys has got it in him to win the race. I think Hill's got a little bit of advantage here, but Schumacher seems to be closing in on him.
Going for another tear-off, Michael Schumacher has reset fast lap in this race for 3 consecutive laps. With the help of our Ford Electronics telemetry, you see him at work on the throttle, the RPM that result, the speed he's traveling, and the gear he is in.
Now Schumacher knows exactly how much time he needs to catch up to Hill, and Hill on his board, they're giving him that information as they run. So they're both, at this point of the race, they're both running as hard as they can. And I believe it's going to be a rush right for the flag. I think it's going to finish at probably less than half a second in one direction and the other.
Hard on the throttle, 100%. Alain Prost now has taken fast lap of the race from Michael Schumacher, so the professor is not out of this one yet. 151.839. Compare that with the fast lap in last year's race set by Schumacher at 153.791. So we are well under last year's fast lap.
These closing laps, as we're being in good physical condition, makes a big difference because they've had a pretty grueling race to date. But if your body is still strong, you're not going to be thinking, oh, I'm tired, my back hurts, my legs are tired. You're thinking, all I got to do is catch this guy ahead of me. So you're just concentrating on the job at hand.
Schumacher into the bus stop chicane. He will come out, and our James Allen will have a very interesting perspective. Take it away, James.
Right, we're looking for Michael Schumacher now as Damon Hill, the leader, comes through. Following him through La Source, and here I am. You pay $1 million to stand here. Michael Schumacher goes past me now. I'm on the inside of the La Source hairpin. You can see the brake disc glowing. You can see the hands turning inside, outside, and you can hear the traction control biting, chattering to launch them down that straightaway. Fascinating place to stand. We hope to bring you a little bit more from here.
And it's only that little smock you get to wear that allows you to stand there, James. Otherwise, you'd have been manhandled by a course marshal by this point. Michael Schumacher on the Kemmel straightaway. Looks like he's closing in a little bit on Damon Hill.
Just a little bit, though, not a lot. Hill's got the speed. I mean, they're probably less than 0.2 of a second different from they were the last lap. If either one of the two drivers makes a mistake at this point, even if it's a small mistake, that half a second that you would lose will be very hard to pick up again.
Michael Andretti is closing in again on J.J. Leto for 9th place, less than a second behind him. Hill will complete lap 38 this time around, giving him 6 laps remaining when he gets to the start-finish line. The fans have seen a great race today here in Belgium. There's a look from our camera on the front straightaway as the field continues to rocket around. We'll be back with more. Stay with us. Place 2 for Michael Schumacher on the pit board, closing in on Damon Hill ahead with Prost behind him 4.6 seconds. On the preceding lap, Hill came through and reset fast lap of the race. 2.8 seconds behind him, Schumacher knocked him off and retook it again. Alain Prost is closing in on the Hill-Schumacher battle. You're riding with Damon Hill as he continues that battle. But on the other hand, Michael Andretti is also working a battle of his own. Just ahead there, that's J.J. Leto in the Sauber. This is for 9th place.
You could tell a difference in the power by listening to 2 in-car cameras. Michael can take that corner flat. Whoa!
Boy, he closed under braking and almost overcooked it.
Michael can take that corner flat, and both the Williams drivers have to lift.
The McLaren drivers have complained about how their car is very pitch sensitive. Ayrton Senna says it's a problem that they cannot cure this year. We apologize for the breakup of our onboard cameras. Meanwhile, Damon Hill out front. Probably a couple of nervous glances in the rearview mirror. Michael Schumacher keeps closing in, and the laps continue to run down here in Belgium. Quick right and left-handers, known as Le Fagne, down into Stavolo. Damon Hill looking for his 2nd straight Formula One Grand Prix victory.
And what a drive he's had. What a drive he's had.
Now, you're Frank Williams, Eddie. Your man is not under contract. There you see Carl Wendlinger's Sauber parked by the side of the road. Your man comes back and wins 2 straight Grands Prix. Frank really is going to have no choice. They'll hang him if he doesn't re-sign Damon Williams.
Well, I think it'd be a big mistake not to. I mean, He's a great driver. There's been a lot of testing for him. I haven't seen him make a mistake, a big mistake all year. He's beating Prost on what you'd have to say is Prost's best circuit. I don't know what the reason is. And he's holding up from pressure from Schumacher. What else can you ask for a racing driver? He does everything. And he also happens to have a name which is pretty popular in the world, Hill.
Certainly in England, Damon Hill. The Fleet Street press will go absolutely crazy if he can hold on to win this one, but Michael Schumacher may have something to say about that. We'll be back to bring you the checkered flag at the Grand Prix of Belgium. Stay with us. You are riding live with race leader Damon Hill as he plunges down from La Source to Eau Rouge, uphill to Radillon, onto the Kemmel straightaway with 3 laps remaining of the Grand Prix of Belgium. Hill reset fast lap. Michael Schumacher now 3.8 seconds behind. Alain Prost has reset fast lap. There's Prost at the back of your picture. Schumacher right there in the foreground. And in between, that's Philippe Ayot in the LaRousse Lamborghini, who held up Hill for quite a part of a lap.
He's not one of the nicest guys to get around either. 3 laps is not really that long in laps, but it is a lot of distance, a lot of corners, and a lot of things can happen. But I think Hill's really got everybody kind of covered right now.
There is Frank Williams watching his boys work. They do not have the 1-2 finish that they want in order to clinch today. They might still do it if they can come away with a 64-point lead over McLaren and Benetton for the Constructors' Championship. You saw Damon Hill going through the Rivage corner. Gerhard Berger in the Ferrari bounced over the curb, went off there, and Michael Andretti got by him. So Michael Andretti now runs in 8th place.
It would have cost, I think, Mr. Williams a lot less to have signed this young driver before this race. It's going to cost him afterwards. If he doesn't do it pretty soon, the price keeps going up with every win. This guy is going to become the next national hero in England. I think Nigel's got his job cut out to get his place back. This driver has really done a great race. He's had a fantastic championship, and he keeps growing. He keeps getting better and better. I mean, the start of the year in Brazil, he was quick, but not quite quick enough. Here, everything they throw at him, he gets it covered, and he's on his way to a great win.
Boy, somewhere a lot of folks would like to think Damon Hill's father, the late Graham Hill, maybe skews up the pencil-thin mustache and arches an eyebrow and says, what do you know? The chip off the old block has a little of his dad in him after all.
Genetics. It's a great deal.
Damon Hill up, suspension working as he goes up through Radillon onto the Kemmel straightaway.
Now he's got a big enough gap with the cars behind him. All he's got to do is make sure he doesn't make any big mistakes, like make sure the car that you're passing sees you, don't over rev the engine, stay off the curbs, and keep your concentration focused. And I think looking at the way he's driving and as aggressive he's getting away, he's pulling away from Schumacher, he's having no problem at all with his concentration.
There is the Williams team. Well, you're right, Eddie. Damon Hill gets an awful lot of negotiating leverage with a victory here, if he can pull it off.
You ought to have fun with Frank after this race. I mean, it's almost worthwhile not even to mention it. Go talk to somebody else. Lift the price. They have a lot of money.
Big sponsor change coming for Williams next year. Camel goes away. Canon Cameras goes away. They will be the Rothmans tobacco-sponsored Williams team. And I would imagine it's going to be a pretty big check, and Damon will have every right to claim a big part of it.
I think he will. He's, like I said before, this driver's done a lot of work with him.
Now Michael attacking J.J. Leto. Oh, he just nudges the rear wheel.
That's as close as you can come, I guess, without doing anything. You can't say Michael's not trying. Michael's had a really good race. He was unlucky that he lost so much time in the pits with that pit stop, but I think he's taken a big step forward today. This is the toughest circuit of its type that they race on in Formula One. The other type would be Monte Carlo, but as far as this natural setting is concerned, this is one heck of a difficult circuit to drive on.
Michael had a pretty good race in Monte Carlo, as I recall. He is battling J.J. Leto for 8th place in the race. Now Damon Hill closes up behind Johnny Herbert in the Lotus.
Last lap. We're on the last lap.
Final lap for Damon Hill.
What a drive. What a drive. That is a tremendous accomplishment. To beat Prost when he's ahead of you like that, catch him, pass him, and then when you're ahead of him, to stay ahead of him, and then have Schumacher come and put all that pressure on you, and to drive as smoothly as he's doing, this guy's got the right numbers to become a future world champion.
If the race ends with the drivers in their order right now, Williams will clinch the 1993 Constructors' Championship.
And Prost gets one step closer to his world championship. I mean, it's the third place. is not that bad as far as he's considered. Keeps him ahead of Senna in the championship. I think Senna is really not, McLaren on a whole have not had that good of a weekend here today, because Schumacher is really, the Benetton car with Schumacher in it has outperformed them. Flat all the way around, both in qualifying and in the race.
Through Pouhon, Damon Hill. What a performance after the thousands of miles of testing with this team.
And it's all paying off. All the money that Frank Williams and all the effort that Patrick Head has put into this driver are paying off. When a team runs like that and they pick a driver and they get him to develop their cars and they get his confidence up, there's no limit to what you can do. And this is proof of it.
Five-time race winner Ayrton Senna has been pretty much a non-factor today. He runs in 4th place, more than 1 minute and 10 seconds behind the 3rd place car of Alain Prost. One more point on money. I think if you broke down the number of points and the number of victories in the championship by the guys who have won them, I would guess Frank Williams has gotten great value out of Damon Hill, considering what they pay for the likes of Alain Prost and Ayrton Senna.
Absolutely, but those are one of those deals that turn around in time. Here he is. What a win. Congratulations. That really is something. I'm sure his dad up there in the sky is as happy as he is. That is a great drive.
Michael Schumacher with a 2nd place. That will drive the fans crazy here. The checkered flag now stays out for the 3rd place finisher, Alain Prost. And the Williams team, you can bet, is very happy for this man. Damon Hill, winner of the Grand Prix of Belgium. He is our Suzuki Motorcycles race winner, and he goes up Eau Rouge and over the top of Radillon at reduced speed for the first time since the green light, and a very relieved Damon Hill he is. Michael Schumacher with another terrific performance. His points produced per start has to be right up there among the leaders all time in Formula One. The guy is a survivor. As good as he is, his consistency is becoming one of the real strong suits of Michael's driving.
These two guys are going to have a lot of fun when it comes. There's Michael.
Michael Andretti through the bus stop chicane. And that looks like
finished 8th.
J.J. Leto behind him. Will it be an 8th place finish for Michael? I guess it will. James Allen is standing by with Williams team technical director Patrick Head.
Patrick, got a fantastic race we've just seen here at Spa, and once again you've clinched the Constructors' Championship at this great circuit.
Yeah, it's a fantastic circuit.
James, ask him how much his salary's gone up.
Really superb race, and very good for Damon. 2 races in a row. Hungary maybe was a little bit of a gift, but although he did a very good job of this one, he had to fight for it all the way, and it was a brilliant job.
I'll ask you a cheeky question. How much has his salary gone up now?
I make no comment.
Thanks very much, Patrick, and well done again.
Okay, thanks.
The Williams team comes through. There you see Ayrton Senna. No doubt a little bit forlorn. He will take a 4th place finish today. That will not do much to help his chances of at least driving the championship beyond Monza to Portugal 2 weeks after. Not to mention to Japan and Australia, where the season will wind up in November, and we'll be with you every step of the way. A German flag for Michael Schumacher. There's Riccardo Patrese climbing out of his Benetton. Michael Andretti finishes 8th, and that is his best performance. In fact, his first finish since the Grand Prix of France at Manicourt back on the 4th of July. Outside in Parc Fermé, the drivers can get out and stretch. There is Michael.
Good finish for him. Very good finish. I'm sure he would like to have gone a lot quicker, but he got a lot of miles under his belt. And with these new Formula One regulations where they can't do so much testing as they used to, and they only get 23 laps in their practice sessions, he needed that. He needed the miles. He needs to run with the people. He passed a lot of difficult drivers, and I think he'll be happy with this.
Michael walks away with Riccardo Patrese, Martin Brundle on the left. And on the right, Philippe Ayot. Congratulations to Damon Hill. We'll be back to Belgium in a moment. From high above Eau Rouge, a very different look at one of the most famous corners in auto racing. You see a part of this huge crowd in Belgium spilling onto the racetrack to salute the winners at the base of that timing tower in the middle of your screen. Here's a look at the final classified results at the Grand Prix of Belgium. Damon Hill, his 2nd straight career Formula One victory. The margin of victory 3.668 seconds over Michael Schumacher with another podium finish for the Benetton team. And that battle, remember, is for third place in the driving championship. In fact, they might overtake Ayrton Senna for second. Alain Prost finishes third to firm up his grip on a possible fourth world title. Ayrton Senna finishes fourth and may be kissing that title goodbye. Johnny Herbert fifth for Lotus, and Riccardo Patrese sixth for Benetton. Behind them, Martin Brundle, Michael Andretti, who got by J.J. Leto on the very last lap to finish 8th. Leto is 9th, Gerhard Berger 10th, 11th, Mark Blundell, followed by Felipe Ayot, Luca Badua, Michele Alboreto, and Ukio Katayama. God Save the Queen rings out from the speakers as Damon Hill takes the top of the podium once again. 2 in a row. Michael Schumacher, as usual, cannot suppress the smile. Very happy second place finisher. We'll be back with more of the post-race festivities and interviews when we return to Belgium. Stay with us. On the podium live, the champagne is spraying like we've never seen it spray before as Michael Schumacher, Alain Prost, and Damon Hill celebrate the results of the Grand Prix of Belgium. Quickly, let's get down to James Allen.
Well, I'm down here, Bob, with Patrick Ford, absolutely delighted president of Renault Sport. Patrick, you've won your Renault's 50th Grand Prix win here in Spa. You've also clinched the Constructors' Championship for the second year in a row here at Spa. A wonderful day.
It was a very nice day, yes, and also I think a very nice race. And when some people said there was no show this year, I think we had one magnificent Grand Prix, and I'm very happy that Damon got it as his second victory, and that, as you said, Renault had his 50th Grand Prix and won with Williams the Constructors' Championship.
Thank you very much indeed, Patrick. It's great.
Thank you.
Thank you, James. 6th Constructors' Championship for Williams, 2nd for Renault. Now, we've been speculating about what might happen to Damon Hill. It's very appropriate now to talk about the silly season. Here's James.
Formula One is driven as much on gossip as it is on gasoline. The second half of every season, the rumours fly as teams and drivers scramble for the best deals. It's called the silly season. Every driver in the sport wants to drive a Williams. Alain Prost is confirmed, but Grand Prix winner and renowned test driver Damon Hill is under pressure.
I'd very much like to cement my place in Formula One and keep my hands on the most competitive machinery I can. I mean, you've got Senna driving a McLaren who's regarded as one of the best drivers in the championship, and he's not got competitive machinery, so he's probably not enjoying himself too much. Well, the trick is to be in the best car, so I'd very much like to be with Williams again next year.
There's a seat going at Benetton. Veteran Riccardo Patrese has been told he will not be needed next year. A hot tip to replace him is Ligier's Mark Blundell.
Politics are so strong in this environment that sometimes they outweigh talent, and you know, at the end of the day, I'm going to be pushing to try and get a better team. I'm going to be pushing to stay where I am, even, because I'm quite happy there. But circumstances may outweigh that, so we'll have to wait and see.
The silly season involves team movements as well. This year, the gossip is that struggling Italian teams Scuderia Italia and Minardi are to merge. Will Christian Fittipaldi be the #1 driver?
The possibility of Minardi merging with Scuderia, that exists, but for political reasons, I think it's really difficult, because imagine 2 Formula One teams work together. I think in history, if that has happened, it was only a few teams, and it's not very, very common.
But the hot topic at the moment is engines. Ford may supply customer teams only next year, while the pressure is on Renault to supply the most powerful engine in Formula One to a third team.
It's possible, because we get more experience. Everything is changing with the time, but it's really a political decision.
McLaren is looking to a brighter future. Ayrton Senna is desperate to win again, while Michael Andretti is just desperate for a good result. Will he be forced to go back to IndyCars to find it?
I think we'd have to wait and see what happens. I would hope that I'd be able to, but again, you don't know what the situation is over there, and you know, maybe we'll take a long vacation next year.
Well, that was obviously prepared before today's race, and it's going to be interesting to see how the various characters who spoke to us will fare as a result of today's event. Stay with us.
What?
This ESPN Speed World presentation has been brought to you by Suzuki. Your Suzuki motorcycle and ATV dealer has the ride you've been waiting for and the financing to get it. By Pirelli. Now legendary Pirelli performance fits the cars America drives most. And by Budweiser, the king of beers, who reminds you, friends know when to say when. The celebration continues here at Spa-Francorchamps. Once again, here are the final results of the Grand Prix of Belgium. Damon Hill over Michael Schumacher, Alain Prost, Ayrton Senna, Johnny Herbert, and Riccardo Patrese in the points. Martin Brundle, Michael Andretti in 8th, J.J. Leto, Gerhard Berger, Mark Blundell, and Felipe Ayo. Luca Badur, Michele Alboreto, and Ukio Katayama round out the classified finishers. Fast lap of the race, you silly wabbit, went to Alain Prost. Eddie, a great job in your first Formula One race. Your final thoughts?
It was a very exciting race. I'm glad that I was here. It was a pleasure to see Hill, Schumacher, Prost battle it out. I think the two best drivers, the ones on today that finished, both Hill and Schumacher, have really made their point on Formula One. Prost is obviously, I think, the one who's going to win the championship, but I can see a very bright future for those two drivers. McLaren has got their work to do to get Senna up to the front, and also Michael Andretti's got to get a little bit quicker, but he had a great weekend.
We'll do it again in 2 weeks' time. Here's a look at the updated points following today's event. Alain Prost, 81 over Ayrton Senna with 53. Damon Hill in sole possession of 3rd place and very close to Ayrton Senna for the runner-up spot. Michael Schumacher a part of that battle as well. Riccardo Patrese, Martin Brundle, and Johnny Herbert follow. In the Constructors' Championship, it's all done for 1993. Williams-Renault gets their 2nd straight Constructors' Championship over Benetton, McLaren, Ligier, Ferrari, and Lotus. Checkered flag coverage of the Grand Prix of Belgium will be coming your way Monday, August 30th, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time, 4:30 a.m. Pacific. And in 2 weeks' time, it'll be the granddaddy of Formula One, the Grand Prix of Italy at Majestic Monza, Sunday, September 12th, 8:50 a.m. Eastern Time, 5:50 a.m. Pacific. I'll be there along with Eddie Cheever and James Allen. I hope you'll join us for that. A spectacular 2nd straight career Grand Prix win for Damon Hill. A spectacular job, and once again, perhaps somewhere, the late Graham Hill is smiling. A great run for Michael Schumacher as well, and he waves the tricolor of Germany on his final lap. We'll see you in 2 weeks' time from Monza, historic Monza, one of the fastest and certainly one of the most interesting tracks in all of Formula One. I'm Bob Varsha for Eddie Cheever and James Allen. Thanks for being with us. So long from Spa-Francorchamps in Belgium.